A woman knocked on my door and asked one simple question that made me uncomfortable at first. "Can I clean your house for a plate of food?" But the moment I looked into her eyes, my world stopped. She was not just a stranger. She was a reminder of a past I tried to forget. What happened next inside that house changed both of our lives forever. Stay with me, because this story proves that one small act of kindness can unlock a destiny no one sees coming. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. I remember the smell of polished marble and lemon cleaner as if it lived inside my chest. That morning, my house felt too large and too silent. The walls reflected success, yet my heart carried a weight I never spoke about. Money filled my accounts, but warmth rarely filled my days. I was standing near the tall windows when the doorbell rang. The sound echoed through the hallway like a question I did not expect. When I opened the door, cold air rushed in, followed by a woman who looked like she had walked a very long road. Her coat was thin, her shoes were worn down to memory. Her eyes held both fear and courage, trembling together. She spoke softly, yet every word landed heavy in the air. "Can I clean your house for a plate of food?" Her voice shook, but her back stayed straight. I felt an uncomfortable tightening in my chest. I was used to business proposals, not human desperation standing on my doorstep. As I looked closer, my breath stopped. Her face carried a familiarity that struck me like sudden light. The curve of her eyes, the small scar near her eyebrow. My hands went cold. For a moment, the world narrowed to her face and my racing thoughts. I had seen that face before in a time when life felt simpler and crueler at once. The polished floor beneath my feet blurred into the cracked pavement of my past. I felt the shock ripple through my body. She did not recognize me. She stood there waiting, ready to be refused with dignity. I stepped aside and invited her in. The door closed gently behind her, but something heavy opened inside me. She hesitated before stepping onto the marble, as if she feared leaving marks of her struggle. I told her the kitchen was warm. I told her she could sit. She smiled with gratitude that felt too large for such a small kindness. As she ate, I watched her hands. They were rough, scarred by work and weather. Each movement carried years of effort and survival. I remembered those hands holding mine once long ago when both of us had nothing but hope. The memory tightened my throat. I asked her about her life. She answered honestly, without asking for pity. She spoke of hard days, lost chances, and endless work that never seemed enough. Her words filled the room with quiet pain and stubborn strength. The house felt smaller now, more human. When she finished eating, she stood and reached for a cleaning cloth without being asked. I felt shame rise inside me. This woman carried immeasurable work in her bones, and I had carried comfort. I told her to stop. She looked at me with confusion and a flicker of fear. I told her she did not need to earn kindness. Her eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. I finally told her who I was. I told her about the past we shared. The room went silent except for her breathing. Shock washed over her face, then disbelief, then a fragile understanding. Time seemed to pause, yet life continued inside that moment. We talked for hours, peeling back years of silence and misunderstanding. Pain surfaced, then softened. Forgiveness found its way between us, careful and sincere. I offered her more than food. I offered her stability, work with dignity, and a place where she felt safe. She accepted, not as charity, but as shared humanity. That day changed the meaning of wealth for me. I learned that kindness carries more value than any number on a screen. I learned that a kind heart multiplies what money never can. The house felt warmer as evening light filled the rooms. Her laughter echoed softly, replacing the silence I once called success. In that moment, I understood the simple truth. Hard times reveal strong souls, and when kindness meets sincerity, both lives rise together. That night, I prepared a small room at the end of the hallway. The guest room had always stayed untouched, like a promise I never planned to keep. Fresh sheets carried the scent of soap and sunlight. I watched her step inside slowly, as if the comfort might disappear if she moved too fast. She ran her fingers over the bedspread, disbelief softening her face. I felt another quiet shock move through me. I had owned this house for years, yet it had never felt alive until that moment. The next morning arrived gently. Sunlight spilled across the kitchen floor. She was already awake, standing by the sink, washing dishes without being asked. The sound of running water mixed with a soft hum from her lips. It felt like a memory rebuilding itself in real time. I told her she did not need to work so hard. She smiled and said that work kept her standing. Her words stayed with me all day. As hours passed, she cleaned not just rooms, but silence. Each corner she touched felt lighter. Each surface reflected more than wealth. It reflected effort, dignity, and care. While she worked, I found myself watching the house through her eyes. The wide rooms no longer felt impressive. They felt empty without shared stories. I noticed how she paused near the family photos on the wall. Her gaze lingered on a picture from years ago. My heart skipped. That photograph carried a truth I had buried under success. She asked a quiet question about the people in the frame. I answered honestly. Even when my voice felt fragile, the air between us grew heavy with unspoken emotions. By afternoon, fatigue showed on her face, yet she refused to slow down. Her strength amazed me and unsettled me. I realized how often society praises wealth and ignores endurance. When I offered her rest, she hesitated. Rest felt unfamiliar to her. That hesitation hurt more than any confession. Later, as evening approached, we sat across from each other at the table. The sound of cutlery echoed softly. Our conversation drifted from the past to the present. We spoke of mistakes without blame. We spoke of dreams without shame. I felt the house listening. The walls seemed to absorb every word. A sense of responsibility settled over me. This moment was not coincidence. It was consequence. As the night deepened, a realization formed slowly inside me. This story between us was not finished. It was only unfolding. The following days blended into one another with a quiet rhythm. Morning light returned again and again, softer each time. She moved through the house with purpose, yet never rushed. Every task carried care, as if she respected the space and the life behind it. I began to notice small things. The way she opened windows to let fresh air breathe through old rooms. The way she folded towels as if order could heal something unseen. The way she spoke to me without expectation. That humility unsettled me more than anger ever could. One afternoon I heard her pause in the hallway. Her footsteps stopped near my study. I felt a strange tension rise before I even looked up. She stood at the doorway, holding a framed document. Her hands trembled slightly. It was an old certificate. A name written in faded ink. My name. Her eyes searched my face, careful and uncertain. I felt exposed in a way money never prepared me for. She asked how life had turned so sharply for me. The question was not jealous. It was curious, honest. I took a deep breath and invited her inside. The room smelled of leather and old books. I told her about sleepless nights, about risks taken alone, about sacrifices that looked glamorous only from the outside. She listened without interrupting. Her silence carried respect. When I finished, she nodded slowly. She said success carried its own hunger. Her words struck with quiet wisdom. Later, while preparing dinner together, our hands brushed. The contact lasted a second. It felt longer. Neither of us pulled away immediately. The kitchen felt warmer, smaller, more real. That night I sat alone after she retired to her room. The house creaked softly, as if thinking. I realized how easily people disappear when life becomes hard. I realized how rare it was for someone to remain sincere through loss. The next morning brought rain. Drops traced slow lines down the windows. She stood watching the storm, thoughtful. She spoke about roads she walked in the rain, about hunger that sharpened the senses, about pride that refused to die. Her words painted images sharper than any photograph. I felt discomfort settle in my chest again, not from guilt alone, from responsibility, from understanding. This connection between us was no longer accidental. It demanded attention. It demanded care. And somewhere between the sound of rain and her steady voice, I felt the beginning of something fragile, something meaningful, something that required patience, courage, and truth. The rain continued into the afternoon, steady and unhurried. I offered her tea, and she accepted with a small nod. Steam rose between us like a fragile bridge. She wrapped her hands around the cup, drawing warmth slowly. I noticed how tired her eyes looked beneath their calm. There were stories still locked inside her, stories shaped by hunger, loss, and endless effort. I felt the urge to protect her from more questions. Yet truth pressed gently against both of us. She spoke again, this time about a night when she slept under a staircase. Her voice stayed even, but the memory shook the room. I imagined the cold stone, the distant footsteps, the fear of being unseen. My chest tightened. The wealth around us felt almost intrusive. I asked how she survived. She answered with one word: hope. That word settled deeply inside me. Later, I received a phone call from my office. Urgent voices, numbers, deadlines. I muted the call and looked at her instead. She noticed and looked away, respectful of a world that never respected her. In that moment, I understood a sharp truth. Power often ignores pain. Kindness never does. When I returned to the call, my voice sounded distant to my own ears. The deals felt smaller. The urgency felt artificial. After the call ended, silence filled the space again. She asked if she should continue cleaning. The question carried uncertainty, not obligation. I told her to sit. I told her to rest. She hesitated, then slowly obeyed, her shoulders lowered for the first time. As evening approached, the rain softened into mist. The house smelled of tea and clean linen. I cooked dinner while she watched quietly from the table. The sound of chopping vegetables echoed gently. It felt grounding. While eating, she shared a memory of her mother, a woman with tired hands and unbreakable spirit. Her voice wavered for the first time. I listened without speaking. Pain deserves space. When night arrived, the lights cast long shadows across the walls. She thanked me again, softly. Gratitude shaped by humility carries great weight. Before she went to her room, she paused. She asked why I helped her. The question lingered in the air. I searched for an answer that felt honest. Words formed slowly. Because someone once helped me. Because suffering should not stand alone. Because kindness must continue moving. She nodded, absorbing each word. As her door closed, I remained in the hallway. The silence returned, but it felt different now. It felt expectant, as if life was preparing another test, as if tomorrow carried a moment neither of us yet understood. The next morning arrived with clear skies and quiet resolve. I found her in the garden, standing still, feeling the sunlight on her face. She looked peaceful in a way that came only after surviving storms. I joined her without speaking. Some moments asked for presence, not words. I told her then what I had been thinking for days, that she was not a visitor, that she was not a burden, that she was a reminder of who I once was and who I still needed to become. Her eyes filled, but she did not cry. Strength held her upright. I offered her a permanent place in my life with fair work, security, and respect, not as charity, as partnership, as shared dignity. She accepted slowly, carefully, as someone who had learned that trust must be earned twice. Weeks passed. The house changed. Laughter replaced echoes. Meals became conversations. Work became meaningful again, for both of us. I watched her regain confidence, step by step, and in doing so I felt my own heart soften, expand, and finally rest. One evening as we sat quietly, she said something I will never forget. Hard times do not destroy people, they reveal them. In that moment, I understood the true lesson of everything that had happened. Wealth is not measured by what you keep, it is measured by what you share. Kindness is not weakness, it is courage in its purest form, and every human being, no matter how broken or tired, deserves to be seen. That day when a woman asked for a plate of food, I believed I was helping her survive. In truth, she helped me remember how to live. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt story. If it moved you, please share it, leave a comment below, and let someone know. *, you are never alone.